All right, welcome everybody to our second town hall for 2022 for our summer at Chanco on the James. We are so happy that you guys are here and really excited to share with you some information from some of our different staff and some things to know about how camp will work this summer. Before we jump into that, I do want to just real quickly give you guys a few things to know. One is we do ask everybody to stay on mute throughout the session. I'll mute you if you accidentally unmute or anything, just because when everyone's on mute except the person talking, it makes sure that we can hear that person clearly. So if you would just stay on mute. If you unmute to ask a question at some point, we'll have a Q&A at the end, then you'll remute yourself when you're done. And also, speaking of that Q&A at the end, if you have any questions throughout the session, you can just drop them into chat if you like, so you don't forget it. But once we get to the Q&A session, if you want to raise your hand, you'd use that with the reactions button on your Zoom menu bar and click raise hand. And then we'll be able to call on you for your question. But you can ask it out loud, or again, you can drop questions in the chat at any time. We're going to keep track of those throughout the session and be able to jump back to those when we get to the Q&A at the end. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our board president, Reverend Charlie Bauer, who's going to open us with a prayer. Charlie?
Thank you, Julie. As Julie just said, I am Charlie Bauer. I serve not only as the Associate Director for Christian Formation at Brewton Parish in Williamsburg, but also, as Julie mentioned, I have the true honor of serving as your Chanco board president. The board of directors of Chanco is a dedicated and passionate group of laity and clergy from around the Episcopal Diocese of Southern Virginia and beyond. And we are excited to be a part of the ministry of Chanco and especially excited for the summer ahead of us. On behalf of the entire Chanco Board of Directors, thank you for joining us here tonight at this town hall, and I look forward to seeing you on the grounds of Chanco soon. And now let us pray. God of wilderness, broaden our minds to see and seek you in new places. God of adventure, deepen our understanding of your almighty creation. God of laughter, brighten our minds to see joy and wonder around us. God of exploration, stretch our world to understand what makes us different and what we hold in common. God of friendship, show us how to reflect your loving spirit upon all we encounter. God of us all, so bless the ministry of Chanco on the James as we offer thanksgiving to the blessing that is each and every person who encounters you in this holy place. Walk with the counselors, staff, nurses, families, and campers who prepare for the summer ahead of us, that we may be ever present to hear you, to seek you, to see you in all that we do. This we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, who holds us, who guides us, and who loves us, now and forevermore. Amen. Back to you, Julie.
Amen. Thank you so much, Charlie. Beautiful prayer, and appreciate that. I realized when you introduced yourself, I didn't really introduce myself. I'm Julie Edwards McDaniel. I just rolled off serving on the board, and I'm Zoom extraordinaire for Chanco. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and my son when I talk about being a camper parent. So, but I'm going to go ahead and turn things now over to Gareth to talk to us about this summer. Gareth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. I'm Gareth, your executive director here at Chanco on the James, and things are shaping up to be just a great summer here. First of all, I want to let people know that registrations are coming in record numbers, which means that if you haven't signed up, or if your friend has not yet signed up, now's the time. Some of our sections are already full with wait list. Other sessions are getting pretty darn close to it. And we know that some of these sessions fill up pretty quickly, and you want to get your favorite session so you can be with the other campers you want to be with. So if you've not signed up yet, that's a thing that you'd like to do now. We have both our traditional sessions, 1 and 2 week long, but also some really cool specialty things. Mariners Camp is a favorite. That gives kids a chance to sail all week long. We also have a specialty ropes course camp, ideal for anybody who thinks they might want to work on the ropes course someday. The Wilderness Adventure Camp gives folks just a little bit more of an outdoorsy experience, even than our traditional rustic camp. And of course, family camp is something for campers of all age. So don't let it be an excuse that you're too old to come to camp. Or parents, if you want to get a little respite, you might send your camper away with the grandparents while you get a little alone time in your house with the campers out of the house at family camp. Julie, could we roll on to the next slide and talk just a little bit about what camp's going to look like this summer? Things will be a little more normal this year than they were last year. Of course, last year was more normal than 2020 when we weren't able to have camp at all. But this year, even as things start to look more normal, we still are going to be having some safety precautions for COVID. We do hear in the news from time to time that COVID is still a thing that is with us. And we want to both do what we can to be safe and at the same time, get back to living our normal camp life a little bit. The mitigation strategies that you can expect that we'll have in place are, first of all, screening. Every camper will be required to provide a negative PCR test taken the week prior to coming to camp, ideally 72 hours before. Whereas last year we partnered with a company that sent test kits to people's homes, we've gotten to the point where we think it would be more practical just to say to you, there are plenty of pharmacies offering free tests, go take one of those, and then you can either send us the results by sending them to us in an email or a fax, or just bring that sheet with you and use that as your get into camp ticket. But we do need a negative test result, so we will be doing COVID screening. Vaccinations are required for our staff, and we highly recommend them for campers. We'll ask you to upload the status of your vaccinations as part of your health history, in addition to letting us know about your chickenpox and tetanus vaccines and the like. We also want to have vaccination record for COVID-19, and there's a spot on your health history form to do that. Julie, I see a question in the chat pop up, and I'm just going to address it right now, which is that we are not asking for a home test or a rapid test. We are asking for PCR testing, which is the kind where they send it away to a lab and then a third party provides kind of evidence just so you're not on your honor. So I appreciate the question. I think it might have been from Angela. Thank you for asking that. More on vaccinations in just a moment, but it's because it ties into quarantining. The CDC has given us guidelines, as has the American Camp Association, that quarantining guidelines differ for vaccinated and unvaccinated people. This is an additional reason that we're encouraging all of our campers to get vaccinated. If it does happen that we have a participant test positive for COVID, whether it be camper or staff, obviously that person will have to go through the quarantine and isolation periods. But also anybody who is in contact with that person, as defined by the general guidelines of close contact, will have to go home to quarantine if they are unvaccinated. However, vaccinated individuals may continue to remain at camp, wear a mask, unless they end up testing positive. So that's a nice little benefit to being vaccinated right there. But ultimately, it is your choice, and we are recommending vaccinations for campers. After eating outside in the dining hall, or outside the dining hall in the pavilion last year, we'll be back in the dining hall in Hollerith Hall this year. And just to provide a little bit of kind of cohort mitigation strategy, campsites will eat with their campsite group. So all the kids from campsite Mark will eat together at meals. All the kids from campsite Luke will eat together at meals, and so on and so forth. But as you see in outdoor activities, while we're outdoors, there will be times when the campsites are mingling in amongst each other, such as playing gaga or shooting hoops or evening programs, things of that nature. But we are still going to ask all campers to bring masks along. In our outdoor spaces, we believe masking will be an optional activity. Some campers may want to wear a mask quite frequently to be comfortable, some less so. But we may have some times indoors where masks are going to be requested, and so everybody should at least plan to bring some masks with them. We know what COVID levels are now. We don't know what they'll be in a month. We don't know what they'll be in 2 months. So again, our protocols will involve screening, that's a negative PCR test before arrival, highly encouraging folks to take vaccination and then make sure we are well aware of that status by uploading it in your health history. We will follow quarantine guidelines, which means that being vaccinated will be to your advantage. We'll be eating indoors. Please do bring masks, and we'll spend as much time outdoors as possible, both for COVID mitigation and because God made a beautiful outdoors and we'd like to enjoy it some this summer. So let's talk a little bit about coming to camp and dropping your camper off. If you haven't received one yet, and you probably haven't yet, you'll be receiving in the mail in the not too distant future something that we call our final letter. This is just a reminder of where your registration is and what's left to be done. Before arrival, we ask that everybody have all of their online forms completed. That's the camper information form, our waivers, health history information, vaccination status, etc. We also ask that you have uploaded onto your Camp Brain portal or emailed to us, sending it to marjorie@hospitality@chanco.org, a physical signed by a physician or doctor's office less than 12 months from the end of the camp session. Also, we'd like to have all payments made before you arrive so that we don't have to do any transactions on site at the time of drop-off. And just make sure that the canteen account for your camper has the amount on it that you'd like it to have. So if all these things are buttoned up and ready to go before you arrive, then we can once again this year have an expedited, smooth sailing, quick drop-off. Drive in, couple quick check-offs, show your COVID negative test, drop your camper off, drop your luggage off, and out the door. That'll keep things going quite smoothly, and it worked so well last year. That's one piece that we'll be keeping from our protocols. Again, you'll receive a letter just a few weeks before camp outlining what you have and haven't submitted and giving you some little reminders. But please have all of your forms and payments squared away before you come so that drop-off can be a breeze. You'll hear a little bit later about what our pickup strategy is going to look like. But now back to you, Julie.
Thanks so much, Gareth. All right, I'm really excited about sending Lincoln off for his 6th year at camp this summer. And as we get ready to talk about that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lexi to talk to us about the staff this summer. Lexi?
Cool. Hi, my name is Lexi. I am the camp director here at Chanco, which means I do the hiring things and the, quick little stressy things all through April, May, and June until we get started for the summer. And then we get a chance we start every summer with some staff training and where we train our really great staff. So there's a whole week plus of how do you handle this situation? What do you talk about with 8-year-olds versus 16-year-olds and all this fun stuff? And we're really excited because we have a great staff here with us this summer. We have a great opportunity for some returning staff. Some of them you'll hear from, some of our new staff you'll hear from as well. But as you can see on the slide, we have a new Meet the Staff page on our website. If you go to chanco.org and then up at the top, it says camps, and then it says summer staff. You can go through and you can scroll. So you see mine and you see Pam. And you can scroll through and see some of the really awesome staff that we have who are going to be working with your kids this summer. So you can kind of already get a feel of who might be your kid's counselor and who will be working with them throughout the summer. So we're super excited for this new feature on our page. You'll also see it on social media as we do Meet the Staff posts throughout the weeks right here before camp. And in our staff, we have had an amazing opportunity this summer to go through a program called Camp America, where we get to bring some staff from different countries and bring them here to Chanco. So we have a wide variety of those this summer. We have a couple of people from Istanbul. We have someone from Jamaica, South Africa, Turkey, Hungary, and the Netherlands. So we're definitely going to get some culture here, and we're definitely going to get a sense of what it's like in different parts of the world right now, and hopefully learn a little bit about them and teach them all the good things about us too. So I'm super excited for those staff to come. And this summer, we also have a hospitality team. If you're interested in hosting some of our international staff on an off weekend and don't mind them coming and sleeping on in your spare room, doing some laundry, getting some food, we would love to have you join us with that endeavor. So if you're interested in that, you can drop it in the chat and I'll make sure to email you and get you in touch with whoever you need to get in touch with for that. So yeah, we have some really great staff this summer. We are also still looking for staff this summer. Along with the great staff we already have, they cannot do it all by themselves. They need a buddy. They need more buddies. So we're still looking for a lifeguard or two. We're still looking for 1 or 2 rope staff, and then just general walk around counselors. So if there's anyone that you know that you think, man, they have the energy, they have the potential to work with kids and the passion and the drive to really make a difference in someone's life, send them our way. We cannot put camp together without the amazing staff that we have. And I'm sure some of our staff on here can definitely nod in agreement and say that life is easier when we have enough staff to run the summer. So please make sure to spread the word for us, because we want to give your kids the best possible time they can have here at Chanco. And a lot of that is the summer staff. A lot of it is the counselors who put so much of their energy. Like if you look at that bottom picture, you can see Jack just singing with his whole soul right there. We need the energy. We want people who are going to love this job. So if you know of anybody, or if you think they might just be good and may have some questions, you can always email me at programs@chanco.org with any of your questions about hiring or positions for the summer. So,
Hey, Lexi.
Oh, yes.
I just happened to notice I don't recognize all the names out there on the audience today, but I do see a couple of familiar names. And I would happen to say that if Trace Scordo or if Virginia or Warren Bryson were interested in serving on staff, we're taking people not only for the whole summer, but also for just a couple weeks. So if somebody wants to fit us in around their full-time job, we'd be glad to have somebody just spend a week or 2 with us also.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're like, man, oh man, I want to work at Chanco, but I am traveling for 8 out of 9 weeks of the summer, we will take you that 9th week. We would absolutely love to have any and everyone who can come out and help during the summer, because all hands are useful. And yeah, we're totally open to having partial summers, where if you can only work half the summer, that's great. We'll take you for half the summer. We will work with your schedule for sure.
All right, thank you so much, Lexi. And I can say from my own experience of working many a summer at Chanco that it is an experience like no other, and definitely one that I am grateful that I had. So I second that. I encourage you to apply if you want to work there or help us find some others. So. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Pem, our head counselor this summer, who is going to talk to us a little bit about camp life. Pem?
Hi, can you all hear me okay? Good. Okay, so my name is Pem. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a rising junior at Randolph-Macon College, where I'm studying sociology and special education. So on campus, I'm a resident assistant and serve on my sorority's executive council. And back home, I'm a member of Christ and St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Norfolk, Virginia. So I've been a member of the Chanco community since 2012. I was a camper for many years before joining staff as a lifeguard. And I've grown to really love and enjoy being at camp. It's really helped me become a better person and learn more about myself and to meet a lot of lifelong friends. And I think it's just such an important experience. So I was thinking through my experience as a camper and as a staff member and kind of thinking about like what I wanted to know when I first went to camp, like what I wish I would have known, like a day in the life of a camper or a counselor. And it kind of changes from day to day, depending on weather and your activities. For the most part, it's pretty much the same thing. You're getting up, you're going to get your meals, you're going to different activities, whether it's the ropes course or down to the waterfront. You get to go to arts and crafts, and we have lunchtime traditions that we do. We have some downtime so that you're spending time in your campsite with your campers and your counselors. So it's a lot of fun. It's a good way to keep everyone kind of busy, because I know when I was younger, I was always anxious and wanted to know what the plan was, but it's nice to be able to have like something always going on, but also having some of that downtime. And then I was kind of thinking about what I always wanted in my chalet to kind of make it more of a home for those 2 weeks or those 8 weeks that I've been there. So counselors do sleep in a separate chalet as the campers. But I always think it's important to pack everything in a way that you're able to get to everything easily. I always loved using storage drawers because they keep everything organized. I know some people use trunks. That was great for bigger, bulkier stuff. Definitely a laundry bag just to keep everything separated. Bathing towels and beach towels. It's important to make sure you're not getting any of the James River on you after you shower and get clean. Rain jacket, rain boots. I always like to bring them in the hopes that it doesn't rain and then I just don't have to use them. But you never know. And then shower shoes is definitely something important that I think you definitely need. A nice outfit for Eucharist, and just to get dressed up and feel nice. I know this year we have a lot of fun things planned. So I'm looking forward to seeing some festive themed costumes. I know we're going to have some themed meals, some different events where the kids get to dress up and participate, and kind of doing their own thing and getting dressed up. So definitely recommend that. A good hat. I always think it's really important to have hooks to hang up towels in the chalet so that they can dry, and bathing suits. Definitely some bug spray and sunscreen, a water bottle, flashlight, lamp. And then I know when I was in the oldest girls campsite, we would always put up string lights. That really kind of helps make the cabin feel more like a home for those 2 weeks that you're there. And it makes it feel like very inviting and comfortable so that everyone feels like they can come and relax and hang out during that downtime. Definitely some sort of backpack or bag that the campers can carry their stuff in, and toiletries, of course. So I'm happy to answer any questions about things that you think you should bring or what life is like at camp. It's a lot of good fun times. And this summer, I'm really excited to return to my role as head counselor. I love this position because it gives me the opportunity to support the walk around counselors and work alongside the leadership team. So I'm really excited to get going. I'll be at camp this weekend, actually. And, it's really just a lot of fun. I've met some really awesome people during my 10 years at camp. So I cannot wait for another amazing summer. Can't wait to see you guys there.
Thank you, Pam, so much. Really appreciate hearing about all those wonderful tips and tricks for packing and the fun things that we have to look forward to, our campers have to look forward to this summer. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that we have a program called the Eagle program for some of our younger counselors, upcoming counselors, but we have an Eagle with us, and so Lulu Wilson is going to talk to us about the Eagle program. Lulu, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lulu Wilson, and I was a camper at Chanco for 8 years, and this year I'm joining staff as an Eagle. For my first year at Chanco, I was really nervous, but one of the first things I said to my parents after they picked me up was that I couldn't wait to go back the next year. I immediately made friends within my campsite when I was first dropped off, and those friendships only grew throughout the session. Every day at Chanco felt like a new adventure, and I loved being able to try a bunch of new activities for the first time. Some of my favorites were ziplining, paddleboarding, gaga ball, and ravine raging. Not only did I enjoy all these activities, I also loved the food. Chanco has great food, and taco night was and still is my favorite dinner. Along with this, one of my favorite traditions at Chanco is singing before meals. Every meal, as all the campers wait to go into the dining hall, we all sing a few songs before we're let in. But in the end, I think the most invaluable experiences I've made were the friends that I've made over the years at Chanco. They're some of my best friends I've ever made in my life, and I still talk to most of them daily. This year, I'll be working as an Eagle with a handful of those friends. Eagling is a counselor and training program for 17-year-olds. I've always loved evening programs as a camper, and now that I'm an Eagle, I'm excited to see the behind the scenes for those activities and more. It's a fantastic way to take on responsibility and learn what it means to be on staff while also helping us bridge the gap between being a camper and a counselor. Back to you, Julie.
Awesome. Lulu, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I meant to mention before after Pem, and I'll say it again too about Lulu. Just a reminder, if you have questions that come up as we're listening, please drop those in the chat so we make sure we don't miss them. And then, as I said at the beginning, there will be a question and answer section at the end of this. All right, so now we get to hear about the arts and crafts for this summer from Olivia Harrington. Olivia?
Thank you, Julie. Can everybody hear me? Great. My name is Olivia Harrington, and I will be the arts and crafts instructor at Camp Chanco this upcoming summer. This is my second year on staff, and I'm really excited to be back. Lexi asked me earlier why I decided to come back this year, and I thought about my answer for a while. There was a lot that I wanted to say and not a lot of time to say it, but what really it boils down to is that Chanco feels like a home. I joined the staff in 2021, and I joined as a walk-around counselor. And I hadn't been back to camp in like 6 years, and I was really nervous for staff training. But within 5 minutes of my arriving at staff training, I had felt like I was meeting up with old friends despite not knowing anybody. It's that feeling of acceptance and friendship that Chanco is known for that pulled me back again this year. So Lexi also asked if I could give like little hints about what we're going to do in arts and crafts this year. And I had a theme. I was going to do something related to like STEM and arts, just to kind of give you a taste. I wanted campers to feel like they could challenge themselves to think outside the box and encourage them to find the beauty and the creativity in nature and science. Thank you. Back to you, Julie.
That's awesome, Olivia. Very exciting. Can't wait to learn more about all the great things that go on this summer with the arts and crafts. And so now it's my turn. I get to tell you guys a little bit more about being a camper parent, which is still, despite this being his 6th summer, crazy to me. I started at Chanco in 1985 as an 8-year-old camper. And I have gone every year since to Chanco for something. I went every year as a camper, a counselor, did EYC, happening. Eventually, I ended up on the board. Like I told you, I just rolled off the board. So anything and everything I can do at Chanco, I do. Lincoln had his first summer in 2017, and this summer will be his 6th summer at Chanco. And he is really excited. He's actually bringing a new friend who will have his first summer at Chanco, which is exciting. And one thing I wanted to share with you guys that some of y'all may be familiar with or not is about pickup. On the last day of camp, when you go to pick up your camper, as opposed to just driving in and throwing the luggage in and your tired kid into the car and leaving, we get to do a celebration. And so when you come, you'll get to park, you'll get to come join all the other parents and hear from the counselors, watch some pictures, and hear about what an amazing session that they had before you take off with your camper and their things. My tip about the things that you take home will be to make sure they all go straight in the wash. I have been not too surprised because my summers were the same, but everything in the trunk needs to just go into the washing machine or garbage probably. So with that, I am going to now turn us into the question and answer period of our section here. And so I haven't seen a lot of questions in the chat, but Gareth, I see your hand up if you want to go ahead and get us started.
Hey, Julie, I just want to piggyback on something that you said and reflect back on Pem's packing list. But I'm hearing you say that maybe we shouldn't pack all of our number one favorite items because it's possible that something will get lost or covered in mud or stretched out or whatnot.
Yeah, that is a good tip. You definitely don't want to take things that can get ruined. You don't want to take things that you don't want to have the infamous James River funk on them, because anything that goes into the James River does not come back out the same, including us, but that's okay because it's just, good James River funk to be with you for a lifetime. But your clothes will not be the same. White bathing suits, bad idea, very bad idea. Colors are good. So If you guys have any other questions for any of us, not just for myself or anyone that's talked here tonight, you can use that raise hand button on the menu bar. So it's under the reactions, and then you click raise hand, or feel free to just type your question in the chat, and we would love to give you guys some more information and answer those questions for you. You could also wave me down. I'll look for you. All right, I got an iPhone with their hand up. I don't have a name, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. My name's Ashley Reich, and my daughter is coming there for the very first time this summer. She's 10, and I just wasn't sure how much money to put in her canteen.
That is a wonderful question, Ashley. And it really is up to you. Typically, I think 1 week sessions are about, some parents put in about 25. I'll say I personally put in $25 for Lincoln every year for 1 week sessions. And every year he has leftovers that we donate to the annual fund. But for a 2 week session, you might give a little bit more. Mostly the things that they're buying during the session might be a snack and a drink. They might buy a sticker or a pair of socks, but not necessarily any big ticket items. So they don't really need too much money in their canteen. Gareth, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just add that you pretty much have it spot on. 25 a week is kind of a pretty good average-ish situation. As Courtney is saying in the chat here, there are some big ticket items that could easily eat up your entire canteen budget. But when you come to the closing celebration that Julie was talking about, that would be a great time to also buy that quarter zip sweatshirt that your camper's been eyeing all week, or to load up on stickers and water bottles and hats for souvenirs and Christmas gifts for the family and things like that. So you can always do extra purchases come the end of the session on checkout day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gareth. And there was a question also about adding to the canteen during the camp session. And I do believe that that is an option as well, right, Gareth?
It is. Let's talk a little bit about communicating with your campers, because those two things kind of go hand in hand. What you shouldn't expect is to get a phone call from your camper halfway through the session saying that they're out of cash and please send another cell phone charger. Cell phones are not a part of Chanco, so please don't pack that. And your camper does have one of the little life lessons of learning how to budget. That being said, we do encourage our campers to write letters home, and that might be a way to give an indication that, dear mom, please send cash. Also, you can communicate with your camper in a one-way email communication system called bunk notes. I believe there's a link on our website that talks a little bit about how you can sign up with a third-party company for a bunk notes account, which will then send emails, paid subscription, to your camper. We'll print them and hand them out along with the regular mail. You're also welcome to mail letters to your campers. So that's a way you can communicate with your campers back and forth using the post or the bunk note system. And if you do call in, Ms. Marjorie would gladly take your card mid-session and charge it to put a little extra money on the canteen account. Again, of course, if your camper is eyeing something and they don't have the funds for it, you can always buy it on checkout day. That's an option as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Gareth. I'm glad you mentioned the cell phone. That question did come up. So yeah, it's not a good idea to send cell phones to camp. We were talking about you don't want things of importance, things that are costly, and really electronics. Chanco's all about getting outdoors and not being on electronics in general. I have another great question that's come into the chat. Thank you so much. What do you have to do to pass the swim test? Lexi, do you have the answer to that one?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about that. So our swim test is fairly simple. It is made by our aquatics director most of the time, but it tends to go along the same vein. Essentially, we want to make sure that if you are in the pool, that you are safe. So the first thing they do is they have to swim the short side of the pool. So they have to swim from one side to the other and then back again. They have to tread water for a little bit. And that's pretty much the swim test. We, just need to see them swim, and we need to see that they can hold their head above water. However, if they don't pass the swim test, they can still swim in the pool. They can still do the aquatics activities. But if they're in the deep end of the pool, they have to wear a life jacket, and everyone wears a life jacket down at the river. So those are little tidbits. They don't have to wear a life jacket in the shallow end of the pool, but just when they're getting in the deep end. So we have that opportunity. We're not going to tell kids they can't get in the water just because they can't swim. But yeah, otherwise it's just fairly simple. We need to make sure they can swim and tread water.
Awesome. Thanks, Lexi. All right. So I think I've gotten all the questions in the chat, but if you have another one or if I missed it, please raise your hand or wave me down here. I'll call on you so that we can make sure that your questions are answered. Now, if you're like me, oh, hi, Renee. Let me go with your question first, then I'll say my comment.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is my son Isaac's first year as well. And we were just wondering, I came in a little bit late. As far as the PCR test, when would you suggest we get it? It needs to be 2 or 3 days before you arrive, or?
Yeah, that's a great question about when to get the PCR test. The ideal standard that people say is 72 hours before arrival. We also acknowledge that there's a little bit of a game that you have to play there where if you get it too soon before coming, you may not get the results back.
Right.
So I'd say somewhere in the 3 or 4 days before coming to camp range is when you probably need to get it to safely get your result. We'll accept a test anytime taken the week before coming.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great question, Renee. Thank you for clarifying that, because you probably weren't the only one who might have hopped on a little bit after the start. So appreciate the question. And I was just going to add that if you're like me, you're going to come up with questions after this Zoom is over. And so, Lexi, who would I ask the question to if I have a question after the Zoom is over?
Oh man, what a great question. So if you have any questions, you can email me at programs@chanco.org. If you go to our website, there should be an about page that has the year-round staff on it, or an email down at the bottom. Any of us are happy to answer your questions. So our office administrator, Marjorie, will answer you if you email hospitality@chanco.org, or I will answer you at programs@chanco.org if you email me as well. Or if you're like, man, I really want to talk to a human being and not just tippity type on my keyboard, you can give us a call at 888-7-CHANCO. For those of you who don't remember a time when numbers were associated with letters, that is 888-724-2626. So you can give us a call anytime between 8 and 4.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lexi, for that additional information. And I saw you already answered the question in the chat, but just to make sure everybody hears it, there was a question about power outlets in the bunk. And no, there are no power outlets in the bunk. They are open air, no electricity cabins or chalets. All right. Any other questions?
Julie, it sounds like there might be some folks who have never been to Chanco joining us today. And so I'm going to ask to see whether or not you're able to pull a little technological wizardry for us. On our website, we certainly have a map of the facility. And folks, Julie may or may not be able to pull it up on the screen as I'm talking to share what I'm talking about with you. But the layout of our campsites are that we have a loop road, and around the outside of the loop, there are 8 campsites total, plus a tent campsite just off the loop road, where our specialty older camps stay. And those campsites all walk a short distance to bathhouses just around the inner edge of that loop road. And so we don't have running water or electricity in the campsites. Those are items that one would find in the bathhouse. And then at the center of that loop road, kind of the hub of the wheel, if you will, is our pavilion, a place where we do lots of our evening games, camp-wide programs, and daily morning worship. So you'll see around the outside there, Julie will point to campsites, Elizabeth, Mary, Martha, Ruth, etc., John, Luke, Mark, and Matthew. And then we have 3 bathhouses that are shared amongst the different campsites and the pavilion right there in the middle. And all that's just a short walk away from our dining hall, which Julie will also point out to you there.
I will as soon as I find it.
Just to the left of your
Oh,
cursor.
right there.
And this is available for download on our website where you can print it off to your heart's content. And if we do have some parents that have never been here and would like to see it with their own two eyes before camp starts, we are a year-round retreat facility, so sometimes we'll be overflowing with guests from other activities. But if you want, you can schedule a time to come out and take a short tour. I'm sure a member of our staff would be glad to show you around or just give you the opportunity to walk around for a half an hour if that would suit you prior to the start of camp. Once camp starts, we won't be inviting visitors. That creates quite a bit of disruption. And even if your camper is the hardy type, it creates homesickness in others.
All right, thank you so much, Gareth. I'm glad I was able to get that map up. It was giving me a little bit of Zoom wants all my internet, so I didn't want to download, but I got it. So thank you for sending that. I did see another question in the chat. What vegetarian dishes do you serve?
Great.
Vegetarian options?
Yeah, we make sure we're really adamant about meeting dietary restrictions and eating meat. So if your camper needs a vegan or vegetarian option, or they're allergic to peppers or anything like that, we are really meticulous about being careful with those, especially those really high risk ones like peanuts. In the case of like a peanut allergy, we like no kids in the campsite are allowed to get candy that have peanuts in it. So no Snickers for that campsite. However, that wasn't your question. Your question was vegetarian options. So I went ahead and I pulled up our draft of some of our options here because we put some extra effort into that this year. And so we have things like faux barbecue chicken, vegan vegetarian pizza, vegan vegetarian Asian, the fake chicken, some grilled cheese that is like the fake vegan cheese. And so we have stuff like a rice, veggie, grain, sweet potato mix. And for breakfast, we have options like oatmeal, and we have a vegan egg option as well that we'll be offering. So we have a wide variety of different vegetarian options and vegan options that people can enjoy while they're here at camp.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lexi. Gareth, we just got a question in the chat. Can we bring snacks?
Oh, Julie, that is a good question. Let me see if I can't field that for you without being too ambiguous. So we do offer snacks for sale here at the canteen time. And from time to time, somebody might have a favorite snack that they want to have with them at Chanco. But we have to compete with the problem of not wanting to invite any wildlife into our chalets. For that reason, we really don't want to see any sort of food at all stored in the campsites, and in particular, not in the camper chalets. If there happens to be a small amount of something left over that needs to be stashed, the counselors can often store it overnight in their chalet within a tote or food box of some sort. But packing a bunch of snacks in your suitcase, in your trunk, in your bag is really inviting creatures that you'd rather not have bunk with you. So that's a long-winded way of saying, unless there's a special dietary need for that, we really recommend not doing so. And if you must pack something, probably need to talk to the counselors about storing it safely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gareth. All right. Again, I think I've gotten all the questions that I've seen, but I'm sure I could have missed one. So if you have not had your question answered, please feel free to let us know so we can hear your question, or drop it in the chat if you haven't typed it there yet, or raise your hand. And remember, again, Lexi shared some ways that you can ask those questions that come up after this Zoom is over, which inevitably happens to me all the time. I have great questions after I'm done being where I needed to ask them. All right, Gareth, any final thoughts for us today?
Julie, just want to thank everybody so much for being with us. It's hard to believe that the first day of camp is less than a month away, and staff will be here even before that. We are grateful to the folks who have signed up, Grateful to the folks who have signed up to be on our staff, and we will see you all soon. Please keep an eye on your email and your mailbox for those last bits of communication so that you've got all the details squared away for your arrival. We'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Gareth. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.